from Softr. Today we're gonna build HubSpot client dashboards, portals, and interfaces with no code. Let's wait for the crowd to join us. Like we already have dozens of attendees. So maybe let's start with a short hello on the chat. The chat is on the right side. I will also start a poll for us, so we could you could answer us. Are you familiar with Softr and HubSpot? I'm sharing the poll right now. So we'd love to know, what of the software you are familiar already with. All right, all the experts, Softr and HubSpot. Okay, Softr only, HubSpot only, neither. Great. Today we're gonna cover everything from different fronts. So stay with us. Hello from George in Michigan. Hello, George. Bali, yeah, Katrina, hi. Yep. And I'm from Poland. Okay, we've got 22 attendees. Let's wait just 1 or 2 minutes more and we can get started. Nice.
So it's so nice to see the diverse group of people.
Yeah, amazing. Software only, HubSpot only. All right. All over the world. Welcome, everyone. Hello from India. All right. So maybe I will start with introductions. Let me share the screen with you. So again, let's get started. Hello, my name is Jakub Tutaj. I'm Senior Product Manager at Softr. With me today, we are co-hosting this session with great guests, Ali Schwanke, founder of Simple Strat. And also you may know her from HubSpot Hacks YouTube channel, which I think is like the biggest HubSpot channel, YouTube channel around HubSpot. Hi, Ali.
Yeah, good morning. It's morning for me, everybody.
And second guest, Aron Gosselin, who is a Strategic Partnerships Manager at HubSpot. Hi, Aron.
Good morning. Good afternoon. It's my afternoon. I'm sorry. You got me confused, Ali.
Yeah, we are all confused with time zones these days, especially with daylight savings, right? So the agenda for today, we're gonna quickly introduce for those who are not familiar with Softr or HubSpot, with what that really is, and then we'll leave the stage to Ali that will tell us about different use cases on how both Softr and HubSpot can be used together to your benefit. So just to get also at a quick note, like Aron could make it for us for first 30 minutes. So if you will have a specific questions regarding to HubSpot, please shoot them in the chat. And also Aron promised to answer later on as well, some of them offline. If there will be more questions, I will pass them to them and he will get back to you. So without further ado, let me start with what Softr is. So Softr is a simple yet powerful no-code platform, so where you can create internal tools and customer portals and actually any kind of application from your data. So what do I mean by data? So with our platform, we support multiple data sources that you should treat as a food for your application. So on this session, we are going to cover HubSpot, where you have, for example, your contacts and deals information, but we also support data sources like Airtable, Google Sheets, and SmartSuite. With Softr, when you're building your applications, there are few simple concepts. Pages, where you basically define what should be visible on each of the page of your apps, and you can pick different layouts that are called blocks that you put on the pages. These blocks have a predefined a look and feel that you can start working with, and then you can feed it with your data. So in this case, on the right hand side, you can see that I'm connected to HubSpot data source and I'm picking contacts context object from HubSpot to pull in the information to my application. On top of that, you can really craft how your application look like and define the styling of your application to stay on brand, for the application to look consistent, and basically don't think too much about design, but rather focus on what your application should do. Now I'm going to pass voice to you, Aron. So tell us about HubSpot.
Perfect. Yeah. Maybe first of all, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Aron. I've been with HubSpot for a little bit over 5 years. And before I worked at a no-code integration company, which is why I'm super excited about this integration as well. And I'm actually a product manager or product partnership manager at HubSpot. So my main focus is to give HubSpot customers access to the tools they need outside of HubSpot. So for those of you who are less familiar with HubSpot, so HubSpot is a CRM platform that connects everything scaling companies need to deliver a best-in-class integration experience or company experience. And in today's landscape, companies win by providing a great customer experience to the end user. And if you go to the next slide, Jacob, at the core of our platform, you can find our CRM solution with access to multiple features and products ranging from content with CMS Hub, sales, service, marketing, and operations software. And in addition to that, on the next slide, Jacob, in addition to our core products, we also have a very powerful ecosystem, which means we integrate with a little bit over 1,500 software solutions to create a very well integrated tech stack for our customers and prevent teams to work in silos. So without further ado, I'll hand things over to Ali to show us how the integration works.
So just let me stop sharing the screen. And also, I'm looking now for the Softr logo, but it's really hard. The ecosystem is
really
so
small.
All right. So yeah, and also again a reminder: like if you will have any questions along the way, I will be trying to capture them all, and then we'll pause in specific segments and try to answer those as we go. So yeah. So Ali, please, the stage is yours.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for the invite to be here today. For those of you that if we haven't met on YouTube yet, we've been working in HubSpot since about 2017. And again, we run one of the largest third-party, it's called the unofficial YouTube tutorials channel for HubSpot. So we're always looking for ways to help bring more value to the platform, teach people what's possible. And I think like Teresa mentioned in the chat so far, like she's using, it sounds like the HubSpot and the Softr integration to do a lot of things. And so my goal today is to talk about some use cases and actually like walk through what's possible with the objects, and then hopefully leave you with some ideas that you might be able to take back to your team and talk further. So I'm going to share just some of those use cases here and then walk through that here on my screen. So let me see if I can make sure I share the right one. If you would like to make sure, Jacob, that I'm sharing the right one. Can you see my screen here?
You're showing the presentation. I think the last slide.
Let's go back here. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to, we already saw all that stuff. Here we go.
This one. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, sounds good. So one of the first things so we're going to talk about simplifying information, and then what you can do in that dashboard, and then finally maximize those opportunities inside of HubSpot. So the first thing that I always want to do, so I love thinking about HubSpot and Softr as tools, as like I've got a hammer, I've got a drill, I've got a screwdriver, but like before you show up on the scene with your tools, what do you want to do with those tools? So right here, the first questions that I always think of, because HubSpot is so powerful, who do I work with? What are those groups? And then what type of information do those people need to know? So if you haven't yet done this in the company, you might already be using HubSpot and Softr to display one type of information, or maybe you're not doing that at all yet. And you're thinking, okay, what are my audiences? Who are my stakeholders? Who do I need to communicate information to? So as I was doing this inside of both our organization and organizations that we work with clients all over the world, helping them build their platform and their use case of HubSpot too. We've got employees. So I run a remote team. We've got 12 people nationwide, and we've got clients all over the world. So we've got clients. Sales team. Your sales team might be people inside your organization, but they all might also be like 1099 contractors, which sometimes, and especially given the new HubSpot pricing model, where we're now moving to per seat model, if you haven't talked about the HubSpot pricing model, we will get into that on this webinar, but there are some things changing to how people get access and if that costs money or not costs money. So we might start to see people needing access to stuff inside of HubSpot if they're not paying to get that access through a seat model. There's contractors. So again, 1099s, but let's say, for example, like in our case, if we were bringing in an external designer and they needed to see specifications or a scope of work from a particular deal that might already be in HubSpot, that's an excellent use case there. Partners, we're actually, partners with a lot of different softwares in the ecosystem. And so we might want to actually collaborate on views of open opportunities, views of contact information, a list of secured deals, all of that stuff. And then because there's so many really great like static modules inside of Softr, we can actually put information in the same place. And I'll show you that here in a little bit. And then cross-function teams. So those of us that live in the sales, marketing, and service worlds, we often think like, how can you work in a company and not have access to HubSpot? Well, if you're not part of those direct teams, a lot of times if you're cross-function, you might need to see that information. So that might be a use case as well. So as you think about this and we kind of boil this down to what type of information might those people need to see? This is in no way exhaustive. There are so many different use cases. I just wanted to present this table here to get you thinking about what, again, that might look like. So I have an employee who isn't as involved in some of our day-to-day client interactions, but they do need to see who's an active client, who's a former client, who's currently a prospective client. And so we can create views of that inside of Softr, give them login access to that specific no-code interface, and then they're not having to worry about like finagling all of that inside the HubSpot interface, and also deal with permissions and that sort of thing. Clients. So I've talked to a lot of folks that use no-code platforms like Softr and HubSpot together to just make a one-stop shop for a client. So if you think about this, again, we're talking about simplifying information. And when information is not simple, what happens is we lose time, we lose opportunities. And I don't know about you guys, but my email inbox, like the amount of times I say on a daily basis, like my email is a dumpster fire or my email's a mess. And so because it's a mess, let's actually help our constituents or people that are working with us easily go to one place or one link all the time. So that's where that client dashboard will come in. We've got things like information about the account manager, maybe some like in today's world, especially where we have a lot of AI, we love learning about other humans. So on that dashboard, even including things that might be specific. So it's like, Ali has a dog named Penny. And so if everybody knows you have a dog named Penny, then all of a sudden that becomes a conversation point in your follow-up meeting. I know that doesn't directly come from HubSpot, but think about, because the information that we're presenting isn't critical, what are the bonus pieces that we could add inside that that make the experience better? And then we'll talk about objects specifically from HubSpot. We can actually move into that area. Sales team, deals in progress, again, former clients. We talked a little bit about these partners and in some of those deals that we're collaborating on. Again, we collaborate to co-sell with HubSpot, which we use the HubSpot platform to do that. That's not the case with every other partner that we collaborate with, because they don't have the functionality that HubSpot sales team does. So we go ahead and use tools like shared dashboards. And then again, cross functions going to vary. So once you've got this down, you need to think about like, where is your source data going to come from? So as I alluded to so far, HubSpot is one of many of the places that your data can come from inside of Softr. But for the purposes of what we're talking about today, I want you to think about that is really like, that's the piece that's going to start the need to collaborate with Softr and that integration with HubSpot. But then you may need to have other sources of data. So for instance, if you have your employees and everybody set up with a profile picture, a LinkedIn URL, a fun fact, if all that's populated over in Airtable and you want to pull that into the client dashboard to augment the data from HubSpot and then put that data about the employee team, those two pieces work together quite nicely. So I found that, again, HubSpot is usually one of many, but it tends to be, the one that we have to worry about as far as accuracy of projects, scope of work, tickets, that kind of thing, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. So what specific objects can we display, and how does that eventually find its way into Softr? So right now there are 5 specific objects that link together with the HubSpot and Softr integration. So contacts, deals, companies, tickets, and notes. Now, if you think about all of those objects, if you're familiar with HubSpot, we know that objects are really powerful. And I'm hoping that someday the use case here too, as a Softr team knows, I would love to have custom objects as an opportunity. But for now, and this integration is fairly new. And these are the 5 objects that currently integrate. So if we talk about contacts, you're going to have over on the right-hand side here, you'll see this is actually a screenshot from the Softr interface where it's saying hey, where do you want this source data to come from? And this is kind of like what Jacob alluded to earlier. This is like the food for the portal, right? Where did it come from? So I'd pick one of these things, and then within that object, then I can say, what are the properties inside of that object that are going to be displayed? And then, how do I filter that? So if we take a next step further, again, how do we filter that information to present itself on the portal or the interface? So in this case, we've got this is one step further, I selected companies. And so in this case, we've got companies and their properties right here. So we're saying, all right, I want to filter this. If I'm creating a client dashboard, the thing that's going to make the information display only for, let's say, Acme Company. So Acme Company is the client portal that I'm making. I make it so that it only shows Acme portal specific information. I'm going to use the company ID as a way to do that. So we're not going to go into deep use cases here because there's so many options. Again, think about your canvas, think about these strategy questions, because there are so many options, it's going to be exhaustive to talk about how exactly you may filter that. If you want to do it, I'm going to guarantee that there's probably a way to do it. And Aron might have some more insight on any filtering that you might want to do here. So Aron, if you have, I can't, right now I'm sharing my screen, so I can't see everybody, but if there's anything you'd like to add there, feel free and let me know.
So far we have one question, actually 2 questions. We can start with the first one. So the first one is coming from Teresa. Does it make more sense to have one main source of truth and do a one-way sync, or does it not matter and the two-way sync works as well? I can take that unless anyone would like to jump in. So let me start. So I think with how Softr operates, you can actually benefit from any approach that will work best for your business. So on one hand, you can keep the data in silos, let's say. So you can have HubSpot as a data source of truth for your entire company, but you might have some adjacent data sources storing department-specific information that just needs to be matched by specific user email maybe, or maybe it doesn't have to be matched at all, and this is basically an isolated piece of the data. So it's up to you whether you'd like to match these pieces of information together or not. So depending on how, it's more about your data ecosystem, I would say, rather than how to display information in Softr. So in whichever case, whether this is two-way sync between different data sources or one-way sync, you can surface it all the way you want in Softr. Because the way it works is that we at Softr, we actually don't sync any data. We just pull it from the API. We don't store this information inside of our platform. We basically pull it from the sources you tell us to. I don't know, Ali, would you like to add something to it?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. It's about the data ecosystem more than anything. I guess, Aron, that's a question I would point over to you because that's more of I would say integration specific question. Like I've found in my experience that there's some confusion sometimes between push and pull or one or two-way sync. And so what's the best way to describe how you as a product team think about this?
Yeah, there is some, the words like two-way sync or bidirectional sync or fetch and pull are being used in multiple ways. I guess you just need to approach it indeed from the data first, and then just see what exactly you want to do with the data. Does it need to be in a continuous sync? And if you update something in, let's say, Softr, does it also need to be updated in HubSpot, or the other way around only? Then also you have permission settings sometimes. Sometimes you don't want to have people update data in other software tools, for example. So there's multiple factors, I'd say, at play, and it will likely vary slightly for each use case, which is of course nice, because that's where the creativity of the end user kicks in to build the use cases. So there's multiple, it depends really on the use case and what exactly people will want to accomplish, if they want to either just pull information or also sync information in both directions.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I know we have a couple of questions. I'm actually going to head to the next part of the webinar, just because I think a couple of things here we made it go through them a little bit, and then we'll pause for questions here again before we wrap up the next section. So, okay, let's keep rolling here. All right. So we're going to talk about the dashboard for feedback and upselling. So if you haven't picked it up yet, I'm a big fan of strategy and the right approach for how we do things. And I'm always planting seeds for how we have better, more effective sales conversations, better, more effective collaborations with product teams and stakeholders. So one of the first things that I always think of is, how can I use a dashboard to prime conversations that I may have in the future? So in this particular case, if you think about a client dashboard and the client portal specifically, as we talked about, like that's what we promised on this webinar, is a customer portal is not only a place for us to display the information. So this is a screenshot of a mock-up. We actually have a video over on HubSpot Hacks that we collaborated with Softr that shows kind of how this was put together. But if this was our client portal and these are the sample projects that we're collaborating on, it's not just about the sample projects. It's about what other information do they need to see in context of that. So in this case, we also thought, you know what, they probably need to see outstanding tickets. And because of these specific things, so these are the different property values from HubSpot. So you manage your tickets. So think about it this way. If I run, so we actually, we have a whole team of HubSpot consultants that work for us. And if a client says, hey, I need help with something, and they submit a ticket, then that ticket would be, let's say, like workflow needs to be fixed here, or we need, troubleshooting with email. It was submitted on these dates. It's assigned. Let's say we actually had it assigned to someone that was a specialist internal to our team. And so again, the client could see, oh, these are the outstanding tickets that your team is currently working on. Or if this was, again, if this is real time, which this is a screenshot, if it was real time, it might say, it might be blank because there are no tickets, which means right now, nobody is having us work on anything. So that's really important. And I think that, as we just talked about sync here, because we can make this functionality inside of Softr actually capture data too, we don't have to have them go to another place to actually add a new ticket. So they could actually add a ticket, and this currently says add record, but I could actually change the text on this button inside of Softr to say submit new ticket. So this functionality is one of my favorites. I don't know if Aron or you have any thoughts on this.
I'd like to add on your strategy thinking. I really like this approach, from top to down. So also I would think about it this way. There was a question about how the two products are different. HubSpot allows you to simplify processes. Softr does the same. So actually, one of the differences is that, think about it this way: HubSpot is your heart of your business, and Softr is your dedicated front end for your part of the business. So HubSpot, for these 5 types of objects we support, I think by default you have 500 different fields by default offering to your customers, which allow you to manage basically every use case. And here with Softr, you can decide, for example, on just these 4 fields to be surfaced to specific end user for specific use case. So here I would say lays this power of simplifying interfaces.
Yeah,
there's also a lot of data. Yeah, and just combining it in a nice UI, Softr dashboard or view is just easy for customers or partners even to just get a good understanding of what's happening between with your customers, for example, instead of, because there's so many teams always collaborating on so many things. We see this on our end as well. We don't always have insights, so having this in an easy to use UI is always helpful.
Yeah, what I really like about, so I know we're talking theoretically about presenting information, simplifying it, but research shows that we process images and visuals 20,000 times faster than words. And from the types of folks that I've worked with over the years, like there are, and I'm guessing that there are folks here on the call that are very, very good with data. Spreadsheets are your language, numbers are your jam. But when it comes to people that are trying to execute with customers, a lot of times they tend to be more visual. And so if you can make this information easier to digest, I mean, that's the ultimate goal. So you all can like move faster and execute more effectively. Awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about, so again, back to the dashboard of what would be on this screen. So this is an example that, again, I talk about in the HubSpot tutorial video that we show online, but these two sections are actually what's called static modules inside of Softr. So think about, as I was talking about priming conversations. So use case here might be, this is a client portal. We're showing the outstanding tickets, and then we're also showing, let's say, the deals or projects that we've collaborated on or they've purchased from us. And then what I love about these two, again, these are static modules inside of Softr. You have to decide what content you want in them. But right now, if you said what you can expect from us, you could put your differentiations, the things that make you different as a company here. You could put like respected response time. Like there's FAQs, and often FAQs are my favorite use case of FAQs is a lot of times people don't even know what to ask. So if you make the question something that you wished people would have asked you, so even, can I create a blog directly? Like that might be something. And if you're reporting on client blog projects, that would be one to put in there. If you're trying to upsell and you want to put this on a client dashboard, you might have a section that says, did you know we now offer XYZ service? Contact your account coordinator, and then you could actually have a ticket created from that. So endless possibilities. It's all about, if you think about that customer journey, and especially once you're in the delight stage of serving that customer, how do you use these interfaces to continually upsell and reinforce your value and uncover new ways to collaborate? And this is just a quick, I know this was in a previous slide we discussed here this morning, but this is on the right-hand side. You'll see that these are the way you would find those blocks. There's dynamic blocks. The dynamic blocks are the ones that pull in information from these third-party systems, from HubSpot, from Google Sheets, from Airtable. And so you've got a variety, and Softr makes it, and no-code tools like this make it so that you don't have to think about like, how should this look? I can choose from common layouts. Just like we're used to driving on the highway and the roads every single day, we know what a stop sign is. We know how to merge. We now have like a language online where people come to expect information in a certain layout. So tools like Softr have made it possible for you to just select the layout that makes the most sense for what your users might expect. And then again, if you would toggle on that static, you'll find that there's various blocks there too that people expect, which makes that pretty easy. So I'll pause there for any questions. Yeah.
Awesome. So let's try to answer a couple of them more. So are there plans to support custom objects? So Reinder, I will follow up with you on use cases. We are collecting them, and yes, we would love to support custom objects. But still we are waiting for a little bit more of information and insight, like what kind of custom objects you would like to see, what kind of associations between them should be supported, and so on. We want to, so we can deliver the right experience for you. And the next one, I think, is a try for you, Aron. I think there's a discount proposition on the HubSpot license, so I can also pass to you later the details from Sultan, I guess. Yeah, so Ali already answered on the chat, Sultan as well. And the question from Tinashe, I hope I pronounced correctly. Can a single Softr dashboard pull data from both HubSpot and say Airtable simultaneously, or each Softr dash can only pull from one source at a time? So think about it this way. when we say dashboard, we typically mean some kind of a page in the application. So each part of this page can pull from different data sources. So one block can pull from HubSpot, the other block can pull from Airtable, let's say, or Google, or third one can even pull from Google Sheets. Then if you'd like to connect the information together, what you need to like assure is that they, for example, will use the same unique identifier. For example, same user email should see only this particular information, and you can make this happen with Softr. Yeah, so I hope this answers the question. Saleh asking about the use case for creating a hospital management system. Can I use HubSpot as a source of database? So I will stop here, and maybe Aron, you could take this one.
You could, but you need to be aware that HubSpot is not HIPAA compliant yet. So in terms of saving patient data, always be mindful of that, because there are lots of regulations in terms of HIPAA compliancy. So be mindful and be careful of what data you store in HubSpot.
Yeah, and also a next question from Sultan. So all my data stays in HubSpot, and I just reference the data in HubSpot in Softr to make apps to exactly what I need, right? Exactly, that's the case. Like we don't store this data. And let me come back to chat for new questions if I forgot any new ones, or maybe you could come back to your presentation. I will start collecting the remaining questions, Ali.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, yeah, we'll move into the last note here. So let me reshare. And good questions, like definitely showing the possibilities there. So we touched on this dashboard for feedback and upselling. And the last piece that I want to help you think about are maximizing opportunities in your HubSpot portal. So this is probably more a question for, or more a thought process for people who are already HubSpot users. If you're not a HubSpot user yet, I think the critical thing you want to think about is a lot of what we're talking about, like there are views, there are reports, there are dashboards in HubSpot too. So Softr is really an add-on to make sure that you can get this to additional parties. Because I think sometimes, when you don't know what you don't know, it's difficult to approach this. So if you are in between the systems right now and you just need a guide, like reach out to me. We'd be happy to help you kind of navigate that. But these 4 questions that you can think about as you're trying to maximize that investment, because again, as a HubSpot user ourselves, like we're full on Pro Suite. We run our entire business on HubSpot and other tools, but we're thinking about what information needs to be captured on the front end. So this goes all the way back to your customer journey. What are you asking for in your lead conversion process? What does your customer or client intake form look like? What types of things are you asking in ticketing? All that's going to be important to capture on the front end. And you might need to set up custom properties or custom groups inside of your properties to make sure that that information displays or gets recorded accurately. And then how will you ensure that that data stays updated? So as Jacob alluded to, the fact that, Softr is displaying the data, but it's not actually like changing any of the data inside of their system. You do need to still have good like data management, data hygiene practices inside of HubSpot. If that's something you don't currently have inside of your company, reach out. We've got a management program we can get you into, but it is very, very important because people take the source of truth as that dashboard. And if that dashboard only reflects the cleanliness and organization of your HubSpot, that's going to reflect how successful your client engagement, your client display of that information is. If you're thinking about workflows are one of the most powerful and in-demand features of the HubSpot platform. There may be a way that the information you're displaying, for example, inside a HubSpot, company name does not get populated automatically if a contact gets associated incorrectly to the one, like the 2 objects together. So you might need to use workflows to actually do some of that cleaning and ensure the data there matches what it needs to. And then the 4th question is that maybe a good way to start is think about views that you might use in HubSpot. So every single object in HubSpot has a view of how you would set that up. And that view may be something you could replicate over in Softr for an external audience, and thinking first in HubSpot and then saying, how do I make this possible outside, might be a good thought process for you to really maximize how you're putting this together. So that was the last, tips that I have. So I'll stop sharing and we can go back to the questions and wrap it up.
Yeah. These are great tips, Ali. Thanks for that. So a couple of more questions. Also, will I be able to trigger property changes on HubSpot through the Softr dash I built? Yeah, exactly. So now it's not only about, as Ali mentioned, pulling information from HubSpot to Softr, but also if you will set up specific action buttons on lists and specific details, you can edit the information straight from Softr application, and it will get pushed live to HubSpot and reflected there instantly. Is there an easy way in Softr to navigate from a contact to associated deals? Amy's question. Yes, I will show you that in just a second. And how much is the typical charge for setting up everything for someone new to Softr and not sign up with HubSpot, Ali? So I guess I could pass Sultan's information to you later on.
Yeah, I'll throw my LinkedIn in the chat. We've got pages on our site that explains all that. So I appreciate the question. Feel free to connect with me. And I know that I was going to make a note real quick here of just your comment of like submitting something in Softr. So just a clarification, like the way that Softr is displaying that data, it's still not changing the data. It's sending it back to HubSpot to be changed and then redisplay it. So for people that might need that clarification. Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so let me quickly share a screen with you. So actually there was a question about showing associated details. So here I've got like my sample app. So it's like a, let's say, simple client portal or employee portal, or everything in one app just to show you a thing. So here we've got like specific contacts stored in HubSpot. I've assigned a different these contacts in my HubSpot instance. So here I have them reflected, and also here in this application, once I will click on each of the leads here, I can land on the lead details page, which is actually a contact details. Like leads are a specific field inside of HubSpot that represents the status of the lead. So here I can see this information in a styled way, let's say, and also I can show here associated deals to this contact and how it's done in Softr, how this is set up. Here I'm connected to HubSpot deals, and here I can use a very powerful feature of Softr, which is conditional filters. When I basically say that show me deals that only match, of which associated contact ID matches this record ID. So this way I can guarantee only the information related to Judith, in this case, shows up for a deal. And as Ali showed, I also have here support tickets related to this contact. So for specific audiences, in a few simple steps, like these are just 3 blocks on one page, I can really streamline the information. So hopefully this answers your question, Amy. I'm checking if there are. I would like to see alternative Softr trainings other than the website or Softr's YouTube channel. All right, George, I will follow up with you on learning or training materials you'd like to see. Right there, in our current partner portal, we also have specific documents for partners, such as price lists, agreements, etc. Can you achieve this with Softr? Not necessarily with HubSpot. So Softr doesn't own a data source, so you still would need to have some sort of a data source, be it Google Sheets with links to documents, or Airtable with actually uploaded attachments, or again HubSpot with attachments. So by having this stored somewhere as a file or as a URL to a file, you can surface that in a portal for partners right there. Yeah, Dustin, I know how I transfer information from Google Sheets into Softr. Is it the same way from HubSpot? Again, I would reiterate that this is not actually transferring the information. It's rather we are just asking, a given data source to show us the information, and we surface it to the end users. But yes, this works the same way as it works with Google Sheets. So you connect to a data source, which is a HubSpot. It takes like 10 seconds to authorize HubSpot and Softr to speak together, and you just select objects and properties you'd like to surface. We could also use our Softr portal to trigger the creation of new deals. Yes, you can create new deals and specifically define each of the field on the deal you would like to populate. And also update existing deals. All right. Ali, any more tips or thoughts?
I don't think so. I love the questions because it just makes me think, okay, what should we talk about next? But if there are specific things, whether it's HubSpot or Softr, it sounds like, you'll get some tips from George. But if there are specific things that we can bring forth on a different webinar, or if you'd like some one-on-one support, I put my LinkedIn URL in there. Feel free to reach out. And I am just thankful for the invite to join you today.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Aron had to go, but he said bye on the chat. Thank you everyone for today's session. If there will be any more questions, just feel free to reach out to us via LinkedIn or via different channels. Thank you, Ali, so much for today, and see you everyone. Thank you.
Thanks everybody. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.